Hey, Detroit Bob, great news. RockMine just hit 1,000 subscribers. And how appropriate, a guy named Martini was the one that put me over the edge. So we're going to go out, celebrate, maybe go down to the parlor. I'm stopping at RPM Records today. We're going to pick up with the letter H, and we're looking for that old soul music. So they got tons of it in there. But what a great feeling. You guys have helped me out so much. I appreciate it. I love all you guys. Keep watching. We got episodes coming up in Italy. We got episodes in Florida. We're going to go east, south, and we're going to go way up to the Upper Peninsula to a little place called Houghton Hancock. So stay tuned. We got more great stuff coming up, and thank you very much.
RockMine is the name of the show. I'm Detroit Bob, and we're back in a magical place simply known as Up North. The state of Michigan is about the size of the country of England, but it's a beautiful, sunny, snowy day, and we're going to hit some record shops. Back again to RPM Records, and I'll tell you what, I'm picking up with the letter G. My UK fans have been all over this stuff, and they're pointing out with timestamps stuff that I missed. So let's see if Leland, Chase, Riley, and the gang are in business. I think they are. What's up, guys?
Hey, buddy.
Gonna pick up with letter G.
Yeah?
Right where I left off.
All right, man.
I'm getting so many British guys that are commenting. It's like, where are the US, you know?
Yeah.
It's like a lost art collecting 45s, you know?
Yeah, man.
But 30% of my audience is British now.
Wow.
So I got an hour. When you see the wife storming in the front door, Chase, you give me like a secret.
Holler for you?
Yeah.
All right, you got it.
Thanks, Riley. Hey, you didn't bring that record with you, did you, Riley?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay. All right, we're going to pick up right where we left off with letter G. So this is what we're looking at. I'm going to strap on my harness, and we're going to get to work. And we get about an hour before D from Quebec comes pounding. All right, we've already done A through F, so we're picking up with the letter G. And it's a simple organizational A through Z, so here we go. It's going to be some speed searching. Start off with the G's. I got my list. It's all curled up. But we want to start off with Garrett, Gay, Garner, or Gardner. So right here is what we're looking at. We got two on this page. And, Marvin Gaye. That'd be cool. I know he's going to have his own section. So I'm looking for Gardner or Garner or Garrett. G-A-R. Garnett. Garrett, not Garnett. So I think I'm already Garner. And if they don't have their own tab, that means they're going to be in the miscellaneous, which will be at the end of the G's. But we're back here at RPM Records, and I was just telling those guys, 30% of our audience now is UK guys. And you guys are great. When you're pointing out the stuff that I'm missing, just use a time signature so that I can go back to 24:15 in the video and potentially pull it. Now, I don't know if I'll have enough time to do a lot of that today, but if I get through G, I'll be happy, and I'll have another episode in the book. So we're looking for Garrett, Kelly Garrett. We got Leaf Garrett. Marvin Gaye, right there. So he's got his own section. We're definitely going to go through that. I've committed to using this list of Northern Soul Top 500s as sort of a guideline to get me through these records. I've committed to going from A to Z, and I'm on letter G. So if I see a Northern Soul, definitely I'm going to buy it and point it out. What is Northern Soul, you say? Well, I'm still trying to figure that out myself. It's definitely a scene to the point of a movement, and it's almost its own genre right now. And I'm one that hates classifying music into genres. Like Bob Dylan said, there's two kinds of music, good or bad. I think he said that. But here's the deal. The scene in England, which I know nothing about before I'd heard a guy whisper about it at a record shop about 5 years ago, was Northern Soul. And it was a club, casino, dance phenomena that featured a lot of American soul artists And a lot of them were obscure 45s that weren't necessarily the big hits over here. Therefore, they're valuable and they're coveted by all the people that were part of that scene in the UK. It's utterly fascinating. Having close to 15,000 45s, I've got all the common Marvin Gaye hits. Heard It Through the Grapevine, Ain't That Peculiar, so on and so on. But I'm looking for something called Love Starved Heart off of the list. Why? Because it's fun. And it's interesting to find out about the scene / movement / genre that's big over the pond. And as I find stuff, which probably a dozen Northern Soul hits I've pulled out of this place that are on this list, I pick up a lot of stuff in between the finds. So I'm not just confining myself to Northern Soul, but I'm using the list as a guidepost, if you will. Now, is the list outdated? Probably. I think this list came out in 2002. And I'm aware that Manship wrote the book. I just haven't had time to read it yet. I'm just diving into the pond as an outside observer, trying to look and see what I can find and learn a little bit along the way. By the time I get to Z, I think I'm going to have a decent handle on it and probably time to go back and read the book. But in the meantime, I'm going to pick up some 80s new wave. I'm going to pick up some punk. I'm going to pick up some classic Led Zeppelin. I'm going to pick up anything that I see that tickles my fancy. But as I worm through these records A to Z, I'm going to use this old, outdated Northern Soul Top 500 list as somewhat of a restraining factor to keep me focused and organized. And guess what? Using just the shotgun approach, I was able to pick up a dozen. So I think using this more methodical approach, I'll definitely do a lot better. Now, looking at these different records, you see the Dead Wax I was just pointing out there. You see the ARP pressing plant. A lot of the early Tamla Motown, definitely Oswego, Michigan, ARP. American Record Pressing, I think, is what it stands for. But it's really easy to find once you train your eye in that little black area of Dead Wax. It's a cursive ARP stamped into the area. Now, when you're entering your stuff on Discogs, always put in ARP, and usually it will zero right in on that specific pressing, saving you a lot of time and energy. The name of the shop is called RPM, and it's in Traverse City, Michigan. What I like about it is it has a dedicated 45 RPM room. The guy that organizes it, here's General Public. So, I told you I was going to get into some 80s ska revival, didn't I? No, this is great stuff. Look at the nice clean picture sleeve. Of course, you're going to find some General Public. Remember, the big hit was Tenderness. And matter of fact, that was a good one. They did a great cover of Andy Williams' Can't Get Used to Losing You. And that one's really, really good. Matter of fact, I just saw the English Beat. So it really was, an outgrowth of the English Beat. So technically, I think the Andy Williams song was the English Beat. Dave Wakeling, I think, is the guy's name. And I just saw him this past summer. They warmed up for Adam Ant in Indianapolis. So put on a great show. I think Dave Wakeling's never done that. That's a good one right there. Definitely a lesser known hit from General Public. Ranking Roger, I think, is passed. I know he's passed. So he was the other main dude in this offshoot of English Beat called General Public. Now the other half of it, I think the two guys, maybe the rhythm section or the guitarist and the bass player, helped me out, drummer, went and formed Fine Young Cannibals with a lead singer by the name of Roland Gift, if I'm not mistaken. I got to wedge that in there a little bit. These are great little finds in between, but I'm still going to stick to this list, and I'm going to write it out. So if you see something that I'm missing big time, with a timestamp, if I'm at like 7:05 told me, hey, go back to 705. Because when I'm done going through this list, and it's probably going to take me 15 more episodes, I will go back and I will pull it. But in the meantime, I'm finding some cool stuff in between. And isn't that the way it always works? It's the stuff in between what you're looking for that you end up just going, wow, man, that was awesome. I would have never been in the G's looking for general public, but I'm not going to pass that up. Back to the room itself. The guy that organized it, his name is Tim. And Tim's more like a 60s type guy. I think Tim's probably 70, 71, 72 years old. But he really, really knows his 60s and 70s, I would call it classic rock. And those are priced pretty decent. But a lot of the 80s stuff, Tim will just have it in there for $1. And there's a lot of stuff that, if it isn't really classic rock gold, if you will, it'll be available for $1. So I always pick up my Midnight Oils, my Psychedelic Furs, my Talking Heads, my General Publics, my English Beats, Adam and the Ants, Bananarama, Fun Boy 3, Specials, all the stuff that you find in between these Northern Soul classic numbers. I'm going to pick them up. Boy, this Bobby Goldsboro guy, if I had $1 for every time I ran into a Bobby Goldsboro 45, I would be a billionaire by now. But guess what? He shows up on the Northern Soul Top 500 list. So we're going to give him a decent looking. He's got a ton of them in here, and they all seem to be of the same title, flavor, label. So I'm going to zip through these as fast as I can. But the thing about a lot of these Northern Soul songs, sometimes they're the B-side. And the story I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys in the UK, is that the DJs would try to outdo each other and come up with the hottest songs. So they searched for the more obscure stuff, for the harder to find records, and literally made them hits in these all-night dance parties at, I think they call it the Wiggins Casino, and all over the northern part of Europe. But I'm sure there was Northern Soul being played in London too. So, we weren't really doing that. At the time, we were doing, lighters at stadiums, listening to The Who and Jethro Tull and guys like Ted Nugent and that type of thing. But the soul, definitely. I mean, Soul Train was huge. It was a lot more popular than Dave Clark's show. And, as we got into album-oriented soul like Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder, those were played on FM, what they called the album-oriented rock stations. But a lot of the earlier soul was AM, and we were getting CKLW out of Canada right across the bridge from Detroit, and WKNR on our side cranking out the Temps, the Tops, the Supremes, the Marvelettes, Martha and the Vandellas, all the early Motown stuff, and then the Philly stuff, the Spinners, Tom Bell, all the stuff that he was writing and cranking out. We were getting the Chicago and the Memphis stuff. We just didn't classify it in our heads as soul. The only thing we knew was the artist's name and the name of the song, hopefully. But we knew it by ear, and we knew it was good. So that's the way it went. As you went from FM radio or to FM radio from AM, things started getting a little bit more sophisticated, and it wasn't necessary all the time to buy the 45 because you'd already heard that on the radio. There was at least a dozen stations all playing this stuff at the same time. So I'm looking for a song called Too Many People by Bobby Goldsboro. Why? Because it's on a list that someone sent me, one of my subscribers, called the Northern Soul Top 500. And at first I was just doing it shotgun. And then after a while, Jeffrey from Maryland, or Maryland over here in the States, sent me an A through Z alphabetized version of the same list. And I just sort of got obsessed with it. And I started this with letter A after going through the whole thing shotgun approach. I tried to do it in a little bit more organized fashion. So I'm not having any luck with Bobby Goldsboro yet, but I think I will. Now, I think you got to lower your expectations a little bit when you go into a shop like this. You're not going to find a 1965 mint condition or near mint condition with matching company sleeve Northern Soul Song. It's just very rare that these records would be around for 65 years or 60 years and just hold that unique quality unless they were literally, encased in something or not touched or in some unplayed stock that showed up in a warehouse or something like that. But just the way, the wear, the tear, the elements, the environmental, the temperature, the humidity. There's things like mold. There's animals. There's pests that, cause problems with these records over time. So I know if I get a very good, I'm doing very good. And if I get a very good plus, I hit the jackpot. So now 80s records are a little different. I've pulled near mint out of here multiple times on new wave, not so much punk because they're just so rare. But I pulled a lot of what I called unplayed near mint, sometimes multiple copies out of this shop. So it really depends on what you're looking for. A lot of these old ones, you can tell they're all stickered up. There's WOL writing on the label. There's SOL sticker on the label. There's SOS sticker on the sleeve. There's WOL with SOL. So you're dealing with rich patina in a lot of cases on these old records. But you know what? I sort of like that. It tells the story that somebody had this in their box and it was number 18, or that it was Charles Jones of 159 Elm Street, Chicago, Illinois, because he put his little address sticker on it. Or it was Velma Henderson, and she wrote her name on the record because she went to a party and she didn't want someone to steal her record. I mean, that was part of the phenom, right? In the States, at least, everybody grabbed their platter pack and went to parties with their 45. So, yeah, Bobby Goldsboro is what we're looking for, and we're not finding it. But I'm not giving up. It's just such a cool thing to go to a record store on a Saturday afternoon and spend an hour or two flipping through old 45s and using a list. So that's what we're doing. That's the premise of the show. And we'll be coming back here on a regular basis to RPM Records and Tim's 45 list because it's a lot of fun and it's what we do. All right, enough with Bobby. Let's move on and see what we got. Every time I go through these records, I just get really excited about what I might find that I wasn't looking for. Like, for example, right here, the Goo Goo Dolls. I mean, if they had Slide, I would pick it up in a minute. These guys had their cup of coffee here in the alternative 90s scene, and they had the 2 or 3 really, really good songs. And then, boom! I think they covered Supertramp's Give a Little Bit and just dropped off the scene. But they were great. I love Goo Goo Dolls. Make sure you got your reading glasses, that you've had something to eat, that you're not hungry, that you've gone to the bathroom, that you've got your list. Be organized before you go into these record stores looking for records. Sometimes you're fumbling around with glasses, and in this case, I'm filming, so it always adds an extra challenge. But I try to make it as clear as I can for you guys. I film all in 4K, which I think really makes these labels pop. And when I'm in the studio doing my gem of the week, which I do at the end of each episode, I always use soft lighting and try to get some decent composition and really zoom in on the label. Now, there's that platter pack that I was talking about. So you would go to your party with your platter pack. And check these out. I run into these all the time. So in the States, it was more bringing your 45s to a party, and everybody had their own little carrying device versus everybody going to a club. And you got to remember the drinking age here in the 70s dramatically changed from 18 to 21 almost overnight. So the club scene got pushed back. So we weren't sneaking in at 15 years of age to a club. Earl Grant, another Northern Soul guy that I don't know him by name, but let's see if we can find one of his songs from the list. And the one that we're talking about is called Hide Nor Hair by Earl Grant. Now, this is so obscure for most American collectors that I actually feel that it could be in here, and then someone never even thought to pick it up. So that's another reason I'm using this list. So I think this phenomena, this scene, is never really picked up. It's on Decca, so everybody knows this Decca label from The Who, right? But do you know about Earl Grant, Hide Nor Hair? I mean, I just want to hear what it sounds like, let alone dance to it, you know. I would be a terrible Northern Soul dancer. I can tell you that right now. I have no flexibility. I got no rhythm. I've seen some videos of you guys dancing over there, and I'm pretty impressed because you got some good moves and some very unique steps, and it looks like a totally cool scene. Now, I would go hang out and have a few drinks and just watch the whole scene unfold, but I'm just a big, student of human nature and history. So there's an old Decca label right there. So that is really cool, the pink one. So there's some other artists that show up on that label. Now, if it's Earl Grant and it's not the song I'm looking for, I may pick it up anyways. That's what I call a tickler. So it's not the song that you wanted, but it's on the same label and it's the same artist. So every time you run across this record in your collection, it makes you think, or it tickles you to get the one that you were really looking for, you know. So sometimes you just got to go with what, Mother Nature drops in your lap. So that's just a cool looking Decca label. And then later they went to sort of more of this rainbow one. I can see for miles by The Who on that as we speak. Now there's a black label with silver and Decca, probably even a little bit older, getting possibly into the 50s there. So Decca's been around a long time. If I'm not mistaken, the Beatles auditioned for Decca before they got signed. That was by Capitol. So anyways, no Northern Soul, Earl Grey in there. But the Decca tapes, not to digress, but the Decca, hang on. We got Eddie Grant, right? And Electric Avenue, you know that. But I was trying to think of the name of his band, and I think it's the Esquires. And I think the song is Baby Come Back, which I love that song. And I remember hearing that as a kid. CKLW out of Canada, out of Ontario, Canada, played a lot of the bigger English hits. The band was the Equals. I'm sorry. It was the Equals. Right? Was it the Esquires or the Equals? Either way, I knew the song. And so I think CKLW, being a Canadian station, had a lot of UK input. There was a lot of UK input into Canadian television, I can tell you that. And they used to run a lot of Canadian series. But there you go. So yeah, what I meant to say, they would run a lot of British TV. One, I think it was called The Avengers. I think Roger Moore was in it originally. But we picked up, some British TV because in Detroit we were so close to Canada. And there you go. Dobie Gray, another great artist, Drift Away, 1973. It was on the air every 5 minutes. I remember that clearly. It was a huge hit. Now, we didn't say, oh, that's a great soul song. The Northern Soul of his is Out on the Floor. I'm not familiar with that record, but Drift Away was a mega hit. Now, Uncle Cracker, who was in Kid Rock's band, had a great cover of it. And, I saw him live and played it. Did a really good job covering it. Probably came out in 2005, somewhere in that, after he had his big hit "Follow Me." But Dobie Gray, heck yes, what a great voice, what a great song on "Drift Away," and but he's got a Northern Soul song, so there's some criteria, I'm sure, as beats per minute and a certain syncopation of the drumming that makes a Northern Soul song. And if you listen to the playlists that are out on the Floor on Charger, the Charger label, you'll see it here in a second. But I listen to a lot of the Northern Soul playlists on Spotify, and there's some good ones out there, and you guys know that who's made them. There's that Charger label. So I got a couple nice, clean Dobie Gray on Charger. Look at that. That's pretty good shape. For Tim's RPM room, that's pretty close to getting. I got the label, I got the artist, but I don't have the song, so I'm close. But like I said, this will be a tickler. I'll probably pick it up and add it to my collection. So just so it bothers me, and I'll go back and look for it more specifically. I'm going to be in Italy coming up soon, so I'm going to try my luck over there. I have no idea what I'm running into, but I'm going to try to film and at least get this good a quality on the filming. And I already got some leads on some record shops, and that's that. So the tickler concept is, it's close but no cigar. And what it does is it drives you nuts until you actually get the one that you want. So you bring it home, you categorize it. You often find that the tickler could be very valuable too. It could be a lesser-known Northern Soul song that didn't make the top 500 list. But if you have any doubts, buy it. Don't be afraid to make a mistake, okay? There is no mistake. You own a record. It's got two sides. You can play it. You can set it on a shelf. You can collect it. But I would enter everything into Discogs that you buy if you're a beginner. And it's the largest network. It's an online database is what it is. I mean, and they get down to where the record was pressed. So not just the label, but no Out on the Floor is what we're looking at here. But I'm coming home with a decent tickler on Charger. It's Dobie Gray, and I'll be happy with that, So no disappointment. But if I enter all these into a lot of times before I even get in the car and go back home, I'll enter them into Discogs, and I'll immediately know how I did value-wise. So that's that. All right, back to the list. Northern Soul Top 500. Did I say Earl Grey? I meant to say Earl Grant. Earl Grey's a T. So, I must be turning part British here. I didn't expect to run into Guns N' Roses, but we are in the G's. The crazy thing about Guns N' Roses, where I live, Axl and Izzy, right, Lafayette, Indiana products. And they went out to L.A. and became famous and met Slash and Duff, and there they are right there. So everybody knows Slash with the cigarette, but that's Axl Rose and Izzy Stradlin and Lafayette, Indiana's finest. So we got the Jackson family 20 minutes north. That's Duff over on the left and the drummer, the other blonde, I don't remember his name. But this is just all picture sleeves. So Sweet Child of Mine, which was their huge mega hit. So some people say, well, they were the last of the rock and roll band. So if I get a good picture sleeve, I'm going to pick it up. So there you go, Guns N' Roses. All right, once you go through all the tabbed artists, you get into the miscellaneous Gs. And that's the way Tim does it. And they're at the end, and sometimes you'll have 1, 2, or 3 boxes. So you got to sort of go through your list again and look for all your Gs, because they might be just shoved in here indiscriminately. But fortunately, you found like a whole bin for Dobie Gray, so you really don't have to look for him. But it's almost like starting over, but you might only have 100 records to look through instead of 15 or 20 full bins to look through. So you're on the home stretch here. Sometimes after an hour or two, you're getting tired, and how many labels and small writing and back and forth from your list can you read? But that's the beauty of 45s. There's so much cool information in between the lines and in the dead wax and on the B side, and all the stickers, the WOL, the SOLs, all the unique stuff. It's like metal detecting, and that's how I got the idea for this show. I was watching metal detecting videos, and I thought, what if you just went into a record store and just started looking through bin after bin after bin and start looking for, instead of coins, you're looking for records amongst the hidden masses and stacks and boxes of records. And there's just something fascinating about these metal detecting shows that I would just watch them for hours and hours and watch them go through the tinfoil and the pull tabs and the beer cans, and finally they freaking pulled out a gold coin. So yeah, I'm looking for my gold coin. I haven't found it yet, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to. So there we go. This was a unique little, really good shape, sort of commemorative. All right, this record is sort of an oddity. It's a commemorative from the bicentennial. That was our 200th year anniversary of breaking off from Britain. So sorry, guys, but it was 200 years ago in 1976. So apparently this group called Homecoming or somebody put out this record from Detroit, and it was supposed to be about a Renaissance. And there is a building in Detroit downtown called the Renaissance Center. So I don't know how much of a Renaissance actually happened in 1976, but there you go. I'm going to pick it up. It's probably worth $1. But, just out of curiosity, I'll take it home and look it up. It end up being rare, so be it. So I'm just going through the rest of the G's, the miscellaneous. My goal is to try to find some Northern Soul records, but really to learn about 45s in general. And there's general public sort of misfiled in the miscellaneous because they had their own tab. So I should go back and put it in there. This is a little unusual. Stiff records with Epic. Now Stiff, I want to say Nick Lowe and Elvis Costello, right? You UK guys know that label better than I do. But sort of combined with Epic. Did Epic buy or own Stiff? I don't know, but I'm picking that up. And that was in really good shape. It was almost in near mint. Ian Gom or something like that. Never heard of him, but, like a lesser known Elvis Costello or Nick Lowe wannabe. Who knows? We didn't get a lot of punk and new wave over here at first, but for some reason, Detroit Rock Radio played a lot of Nick Lowe. And I remember hearing Elvis Costello, like, what's so bad about peace, or what's so fun about peace, love, and understanding. But we never got the first album on a timely manner. It wasn't a breakthrough over here. Here we go. State of Michigan. We're on a peninsula. Right there is Detroit. Up here, Traverse City. About 4 hours apart. So you can always use your hand as a map. we're a peninsula, and there's an upper peninsula too. So as England, you guys are surrounded by water. You're basically an island. We go all the way up to the tip. That upper part, I can't really show you because I'd have to use my upper hand. But we're going to go up there this next summer and hit some shops. I have no idea what we'll find up there. It's very geographically isolated. You have to take a bridge called the Mackinac Bridge. It used to be the longest suspension bridge in the world. I think it's about 5 miles long. But just to get up there. And then you drive through just sort of the wilderness for hours till you get up to a town near Marquette. And then we're going to go up to an even smaller town called Houghton and its sister across the river called Hancock. So I've already identified a couple of record stores. We're going to shoot. I got my buddy Kevin, who's helped shoot an episode in the past, the episode we did in Quebec City, Canada. So we're going to go to the most northern part of Michigan called the Upper Peninsula, abbreviated as the U.P. And to see what we find. And that's another thing, geographically, there may have been a scene up there where, tons of records from this band, were popular. I know Traverse City per capita was, I said this last episode that we did here, the highest consumption of foreigner records per capita anywhere in the United States. I have no idea why, but they did come and do an in-store appearance at Full Moon Records on Front Street that I was begging my dad to drive me down there because I didn't have my driver's license. I was like 15. It was 1978. So there you go. And no, I couldn't go. I had to work. But a foreigner did come to town from what they tell me. So I'm winding it down now. The name of the show is RockMine. Make sure you subscribe. If you guys are Northern Soul hardcore collectors, hey man, I'm not trying to be an expert or step on your toes or, pinch in on your scene, man. You guys did it. I think it's totally cool. I think it's an incredible scene, movement, genre, and keep it going because I don't think American soul and soul artists got the credit they deserved. How many covers did the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and Candy Eat and other American artists do? The Doors of great old soul, blues, jazz, and R&B artists. Fortunately, my dad raised me listening to Boogie Woogie and a guy named Louis Jordan and also a great vocal group called the Mills Brothers. So he used to listen to those guys on 78s. So then growing up in Detroit, and my uncle did some work for Motown. He was a photographer. And just hearing the whole Motown thing in real time was really, I guess, my soul education. But and then later seeing all the acts, I saw Michael Jackson, I saw Prince, I saw Gladys Knight, I saw the Spinners, I saw B.B. King, I saw Johnny Copeland, I saw, Ruth Brown, Coco Taylor, the list goes on of the great John Lee Hooker, all the great blues artists and R&B artists. Argo. Pick these up when you find them. Now, seasoned collectors know that this is a subsidiary of Chess, famous Chess Records. I'm on the last box, but finding an Argo is cool. Now, Etta James shows up on Argo, Ramsey Lewis, but also a lot of obscure jazz artists. And so beginners might not know that that's a Chess type label. And of course, Chess and Checker, you got Bo Diddley and you got Chuck Berry and you got all the old Willie Dixon stuff and the great, Howlin' Wolf and all those great artists that came out of the Chicago scene and were on Chess Records. Notably Chuck Berry. What did John Lennon say? If you had to rename rock and roll, you could just call it Chuck Berry. I see this X label all the time. It's a little weird. But I'm about at the end of my my rope. But look at this on Checker. It's very similar to the old VJ label, but it's the cousin of chess is checker, right? And Daddy-O Gibson, never heard of him? And I am just getting that. It's probably good plus. Here's a VJ, Oldies 45 is a VJ subsidiary label. So, but that Daddy-O Gibson really intrigues me because I think it might be fairly unique. So I definitely put that into my stack of stuff, and I'm coming home with that. Now here's a 33 1/3 on a 7-inch disc. So it's a 33 1/3 45. No, it's not a 45. It's a 33 1/3. But is it an LP? No, it's a 7-inch. It's not an album, or is it an album? If it can, a collection of songs is an album. You could have an album on cassette, right? Or you could have an album on a CD. So there's a record album, which just means it's a recording, right? Vinyl record. There's all sorts of terminology wars going on right now. There's some old Decca. Another thing, vinyls, like a lot of the young kids are calling the records vinyls. And then, man, does that piss some people off? I'm like, well, the language evolves. I mean, look at English, and we don't even speak English. We speak just a bastardization of English. We drop our G's just about everywhere. I'm half hillbilly, so that comes normal to me, not to use a G at the end of a word. My mom was born and raised she's born and raised part of her childhood in Kentucky, Central City, the same hometown as the Everly Brothers. But, is vinyls, is a 20-year-old kid, hey, I brought over my vinyls. I don't have a problem with it, if that's what he wants to call them. They're just vinyls, I'm sort of glad that these young kids are collecting quote-unquote vinyls. So one episode, I just said collecting vinyls, and I posted it, and that was probably the most backlash I got. And occasionally, I get the you don't know what you're talking about, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much true. My goal is not to sit there and have a camera on me. And I know I talk a lot, but I want you to just see these records in the wild and what's out there. And hey, man, get on a plane, come on over. There's so many 45s just waiting to be discovered. There's guys I know that rehab houses. I've told this story before. They run across in attics and basements of houses boxes of 45s and LPs. And you know what they do? They pick them up and they go throw them in the dumpster every day. There's a lot of what we call house flipping over here, where guys go into these junk neighborhoods and just buy the house for pennies on a dollar, and they know exactly what they need to fix up. They concentrate on the kitchen and the bathrooms, and they get it up to livable standards. They buy a house for $23,000, they sell it for $110,000. So, and they can do the whole thing in 45 days. Literally.
All right, we finished up with the G's. I got some close ones, but I didn't get anything off my Northern Soul list.
So we're winding up for the letter G. It's been a great episode.
Checker.
Make sure you click
I got
that
some Argo.
subscribe
I got
button.
some General Public,
And
pretty cool picture sleeve.
follow along.
So here's what
We're
we'll
gonna
pick up
go
next week.
to a lot of places.
Probably in a couple
I
weeks.
do a lot of
It won't be long.
voiceovers in
And then
this
we'll finish
type
all
of
the way H,
environment.
maybe get I
but
done.
most of the
My
time,
goal is to get all the
we'll
way
come
to
back, we'll
Z,
do H.
and that would be sort of nice.
Probably
Let's
next
check Bob
time you see
Seeger
me.
real quick.
Most of the time when I'm in the wild,
My
if I don't
driver's
have
on
any,
her way to pick me up.
background radio,
I always check the
I'll
Bob
just let
Seeger.
you listen in.
See if you get
Bob
anything new.
Seeger, I always check his bin.
I love
Check
these
out
old cameos.
If UK guys are not familiar
This was early
with Bob
Seeger.
Seeger, I get it.
That's
But
pretty
check
rough.
out his
Heavy
early
music.
hit, 2
I think it
plus
was in the
2
top 20 in the
equals
Detroit area,
question mark.
but really not
And
anything
2
nationally.
plus
Back
2 is
then,
on my mind.
you could
is
have
what we
regional
call it.
hits
It was an early
that
garage
just
rock
didn't break.
that Jack White has
Talking
reprinted
Heads, I always
on
look
Third Man
here.
Records. Talking Heads, always check.
But they didn't have any
And they're
last
always-
week.
Someone beats me to Talking Heads every time.
Miscellaneous S.
So I found one Talking Heads here
T-Rex,
once when I
don't
first
have
came to
any
the shop
there.
about 2 or 3 years ago.
Talking
you're not going to
Heads,
find Talking
empty.
Heads in here. I'm just telling you that right now. But check out the Bob Seger 2+2
So
is on my
that's
mind.
that.
I think it came out in 67, 68 on Cameo.
Hardine
And,
Taylor, we'll get to that
Or Cameo. That was
because
a
he
big,
does have a
Chubby
Northern
Checker
Soul
label.
song. So we got that waiting
But I think
for
you
us.
guys would find it.
I don't want to give it
early
short shrift.
Garage rock or
Beatles
proto
and VJ, they got their own bin. Let's check that real quick.
garage. What would you call it? I would call it just garage rock. So you got to remember all these guys that we're hearing, like James Brown and all these great soul artists. So these American teenagers, they'd go home and gather up all their friends. And
I know what the label looks
a lot
like,
of
so I
the
know what I'm looking
garages were detached in the
for. It's
States,
the one
but
before
they
the
had
bracket,
electricity.
so I'm looking for
So,
the one at the
boom.
circle. Like I said,
You
there
know,
is one
electric guitars, right?
for
And you got a garage that was 100 yards from the
$3,000
house.
on eBay
So
right
you would
now.
drive down the
Too rich for my blood. Right, you can't beat the price. We're gonna go check out up front.
Oh, that's
And,
so-and-so's band. There's
we'll
the
do a
prices.
summary at the end.
Reasonable.
Notice this. This is pretty
Um,
cool.
Here's like a Beatles
the
box
Wurlitzer Company.
Wurlitzer that was sent
Some
to
guy in
somebody
Manistee, Michigan. I
And
the
know a
Beatles,
guy in Manistee
just a
that
box
repairs
full of
jukeboxes.
45s.
So that
Maybe
seemed
their
to
whole
be a big
collection. I don't know.
jukebox area over in the middle of the state.
Pretty cool.
There's all sorts of.
All right, I'm gonna fold up my list and get
I'm
out
gonna
of here.
pack up my list and get the heck out of here and call it an episode.
Got my
wife's
trusty
picking me up,
backpack.
and I'm still gonna head to that parlor and call
Back
it a
into
day.
the chamber we
And,
go.
got some decent G records.
Don't want to lose my
Guns N'
Northern
Roses
Soul
picture
list.
sleeve.
Oh, I
With
got the
that
wrong
Daddy
bucket.
O Gibson just intrigues the hell out of me. And I can't wait to look it up and see what the hell I got.
There we go.
But that's the fun of it, man. The mystery bag, yeah, I've bought a couple of them.
Just gonna carry this
Probably
on
not
the way
going to get
out.
one this trip. So that's that. Got my jacket, got my sweatshirt, got my harness, got my backpack.
Hey, Palmer.
got
I
my
got a
list.
few of his recordings.
Palmer. Yeah,
That was a guy
He's got
ahead
some
of
good
his time.
stuff. I've listened to a few of his recordings. But now the wife's going to come in looking for me at any minute. So hold
Yeah,
tight.
speak of the devil, here comes the boss. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's check out.
That was all done.
Well, when I say I'm done, that means I'm done looking. That doesn't mean I'm fully checked out. Yeah, there's always a little, it's like going through TSA at the airport. Yeah, you know.
I'm in the car.
All right, sounds good. How you doing, Chase?
Good. Cade, how about you?
Cade. Okay,
Yeah.
I've been calling you Chase.
I know. Usually it's real quick, so I don't
Yeah.
catch it. but-
Cade.
yeah.
C-A-D-E.
Perfect.
I love it. Okay,
man.
now I'll remember. I can remember the name of an artist on an album from 30 years ago, but I'm terrible with names.
There is.
It's like right there, and you can't back out. They just parked. They just silver Cadillac SUV.
You guys drive?
Yeah, it's my wife.
Okay.
She'll be out of your way in 2 seconds. Yeah, just
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah. So apparently my wife's got somebody blocked in, so that ain't good.
They're always making a fuss about
I know. I know.
need to eat some of those gummies. That
Oh,
Yeah,
is that? Are
yeah.
those the dispensary
Yeah.
people? Yeah. Yeah. God knows they're whacked out on weed.
5, 10, 15, 5, 10, 15, 20.
It's like it's been there an hour. Seriously, it's only been there 3 minutes. It
Yeah.
just seems like an hour.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right. So 24, man.
All right. Sounds like a deal. And then like I'm always promoting you guys, so
$25. I'll
All
go
right.
even with the tax. Go ahead there. Yeah, we try, man.
yeah, I tag you and
Oh yeah. I saw the last one you got. You
Yeah.
uploaded on us.
yeah. So one of these times I'll call ahead and see if he'll bring in his $400 record. We'll do a little
yeah.
spiel on that, you
Yeah,
know,
man.
because that's what everybody wants to find the gem, you know.
Maybe it'll sell that way.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like a free commercial for you guys too. All right. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, later, Bobby.
Take care.
The funny thing is, my wife parked in the dispensary lot. So next door, there's this new dispensary, and the young chick had to come into the record store and say, "Someone's parked in my lot." And sure enough, it's a silver caddy, and I knew exactly who it was. So here it is. Let my wife know.
Apparently, you were
parked in the weed lot.
Oh,
The lady came in and complained.
she did.
Oh yeah,
Who's the weed lot?
this you're in Gage is a weed.
No, there's no room.
There's a dispensary called Gage, and you're parked in the weed
Yeah,
lot.
well, there's just no room over there.
All right. Well, we finally made it to that place called the Parlor. It's sort of a speakeasy, but I couldn't take my eyes off that old 78 player in the corner. It's been a good episode. It's been a good trip. Another successful record hunt. I don't care if I find something. I just love the hunt itself. I did think that winter was over though, and this zigzagging between Florida and Michigan is driving me crazy. But I actually sort of like it when there's snow like this all over the trees. Like I said, you don't need a turntable when you're out here in nature. Just need a warm jacket and some boots. Here it is, our gem of the week, Daddy-O Gibson, Behind the Sun with Night Train. Now you might know Night Train by, well, James Brown. This was released in 1956 on Checker. Checker 848, it's vinyl, 7-inch, 45 RPM US release. The genre is blues, and the rhythm and blues instrumental is the style. Now, who the heck is Daddy-O Gibson? Henry the Hipster Gibson recorded 2 sides on Checker under this name, and it was released in 1956. The real name was Harry Raab, R-A-A-B, also known as Harry the Hipster Gibson. What a strange cat that guy sounds like. And you can look him up on Wiki. He was sort of an obscure American jazz pianist, singer, and songwriter. Played in the New York style stride piano and boogie woogie, while singing in a wild, unrestrained style. What a crazy cat. Born in 1915 and died in 1991. So it doesn't sound like he has a lot of inventory out there. And as a matter of fact, this has never been sold on Discogs. So to have it, there's no price. So I just put it up for $50. I think it cleaned up to a very good. You can see the grooves on it are really clean. Everything came out pretty nice. You can see the Chicago, Illinois right there. And where did we get this? We got this at RPM Records. Like I said, there's Michigan, your peninsula. But right here is that little shop in Traverse City. And here's the Upper Peninsula. We're going to go there this summer up to right up here in Houghton Hancock. So that's where Detroit Bob is from. Detroit's right here across the river is Canada. Down here is the region, Indiana, Ohio, Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, and Lake Huron. And there it is, Daddy-O Gibson, our gem of the week. Make sure you subscribe. We will see you next time. We're going to hit some record stores here locally. We're going to go to Europe, and we're going to be back up at RPM before too long to continue with that letter H. Until then, we'll see you next time. New episodes every Friday. RockMine, the name of the show. This is Detroit Bob signing off.